Thank you. My first challenge is trying to keep my comments to 7 minutes, so if possible. But feel free to interrupt me if I'm going too far. Like you said, I've grown up in South Philadelphia. My children still reside in South Philadelphia, and I represent Longshoremen, who the majority of them still live in South Philadelphia, and including Fishtown. And the ones who are fortunate and doing well, sometimes have moved, like myself, okay, over into the Jersey side. Again, it's quite common with any type of industrial process that as you do better, you try to look at things a little differently. I've had the benefit of working on a waterfront when you struggled and you went to work every day not knowing whether you were going to go to work. Okay, it was called a shape-up. And for those of you who are as old as I am or a little older, you remember the movie on the waterfront, and to this day some of that still exists, where you have to go to a hiring center on a daily basis and you don't know whether you're going to work or not. Okay, and in many cases you get sent home. The good news is right now the majority of the people are working on a regular basis, but we've been through some very trying times. How I got involved in this was very simply, I admit that I am come from a special interest group, as most politicians want to label labor, and that I looked at how the casinos were going to impact our industry as it exists today, and it was quite concerning, number one. And I want to use the presentation that was made at yesterday's City Council meeting by the people who are supposed to redesign traffic that they claim will be beneficial to the entire community, including Foxwood, which I don't see how it works. But to make a long story short in regards to how it affects the waterfront, how many people have heard me before? Because well then, okay, well most of you, so I could jump into a quicker rate. Longshoremen load and unload ships, okay, they make a fairly decent wage. We made major concessions, however, to be competitive with other non-union facilities and other non-union ports. And I always claim, and I claim to prove, we frozen our pension plan in 1996, which was devastating, because now as a result of that, we have the lowest paid pension as far as longshoremen are concerned in the country in this port, all done with the intentions of taking what was eroding, meaning our cargo going to other ports, and trying to stimulate it to come back to this area, and it's worked. Okay, we went from 1.2 million man hours to 1.9 million man hours and constantly growing. We've hired approximately 200 new people over the last 2 years. Okay, multicultural. Okay, and it's probably 60% minority. Okay, they're working on the Philadelphia waterfront right now. What's at stake? Okay, and I can talk about the water forever. I'd rather get into the issues. The places that they have designated as orange are Piers 38, 39, and 40, which is about 3 blocks north of Foxwood. Okay, and then you have Piers 78, 80, 82, Piers 84, and so on. Piers 98 right now are not active, other than some supplemental storage from the different facilities. But the other piers that I mentioned are active right now. They handle forest products, which are your newsprint, wood pulp, and all paper products, basically. They're active. The total man hours I couldn't explain to you, as it does vary, but it's not just longshoremen. Longshoremen are the smallest component of moving that cargo. There's Teamsters who store it. There's Teamsters who move it across from the pier facilities to maybe the Inquirer or whatever other newspapers using the newsprint. There's a lot of other jobs that are related to the waterfront that most people don't understand or equate to the longshore industry. To give you an example, at Furnace Junior High, when we were having the Penn Praxis seminar there, okay, at the end of the meeting, an elderly woman came up to me, and I didn't know who she was, and she said, "I want to thank you for fighting on behalf of the waterfront." And I said, "Why, is your husband a pensioner?" And she said, "No." She said, "I worked there." I said, "Oh," and she works for a shipping agent. And she's an accountant that works for a shipping agent. So there's a broad base of people whose livelihoods are affected by the industry itself, including your mom and pop stores, because the majority of our people, different than a lot of other unions, still reside in Philadelphia. So that's where they're spending their money at. That's in jeopardy. And why is it in jeopardy? To explain what we've done, once again, we made concessions to keep that product here. All right, and we did it with the intention of making an investment to keep the product here, number one, and grow future jobs and stabilize our environment, so hopefully someday we could get better pensions. That was the purpose behind it. That was a key component to the to not just the paper products that were here coming in, but other paper products coming in from Finland now come through that facility. All right, it's generated a lot more money than I think that they ever thought it would grow into. To prove what's in jeopardy, okay, the owner and operator, I should say the operator, because he leases these facilities from the Philadelphia Regional Port Authority, has now purchased a company called Murphy Marine Services, which is a company that's a stevedoring company involved in the same business in Wilmington, Delaware, and he's a majority stockholder. And in my opinion, and I know them, okay, is that they're hedging their bets and are anticipating that we won't be successful here. Those facilities will not be able to operate as a marine facility any longer, and that cargo, along with those jobs, will go to Wilmington, Delaware. Now, it's not too far away. I actually represent the men in Wilmington, Delaware, with my international position. But the impact on the people that work in Philadelphia will be severe. It'll have a devastating effect. Now, you can say, well, there's only a few years, and I've heard about what the governor's announcement are, and I'll spend as much time explaining that to you as you find that you're interested in it. Where these cargoes are connected is that our economic package, our pension fund, our welfare fund, our vacation fund, and all the benefits that go along with the longshore industry are all connected at the hip. It's based on us generating a certain amount of volume. So we lose any one piece of that, the total financial equation that funds those programs gets thrown out of whack. Then normally you would have to increase the cost of other cargoes, including container cargo. And if you outprice yourself in a competitive industry, that cargo will gravitate to the ports that are competing with us, and then you would be not losing a few hundred or 1,000 jobs. You could be losing the total, I guess, exposure of longshoremen or people who are connected to the longshore industry, which is 45,000 jobs. Okay. Now, the good news. The good news is we have finally convinced Governor Rendell to get involved in port expansion. At first, it was no, 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 and I found out why it was no, 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 no. People who had this planned, that included casinos, also wanted to take the rest of the waterfront and make it totally commercial. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to commercial development or residential development. I think you have to find industries that are compatible with one another. But it was going to be at the expense of our jobs. And I had physical evidence to it, okay, and I will bring it out when I wind up in the proper courtroom, okay, that was their intention to do so. But anyway, what has happened recently, we have had to sue the Philadelphia Regional Port Authority, okay, over some of the things that I'm talking about. They should be involved. They should be objecting. It was raised yesterday by Steve Mullen that the Port Authority said this won't hurt. That's not what the Port Authority said. The Port Authority said that this will not hurt the new expansion that's now being discussed, and that's true. What it will hurt is the businesses that's been here for a number of years, okay, a lot of years, and the people that will work there. So he's kind of stretching the truth in order to cover what they're presenting to you. Steve Mullen, for what it's worth to people, he was the governor's director of he was the governor who was the mayor, director of commerce, the whole time that Rendell was the mayor. So of course he presented himself yesterday as an independent consultant, but he's got the political connection or ties to our governor, okay, when he's up there making very shallow statements of what the economic benefits are going to be without having any background information that went beyond his words. All right, I'm familiar with the politics. Unfortunately, I've suffered with the politics of this area for a long time. Hopefully it'll change someday. I'm not here to make any political statements. Getting into the social ills. Okay.